Welcome to Market Share Masterclass, where we share short, tactical retail wins. I'm your host, Leiden Faust, and each week I sit down with brand builders to uncover the exact strategies that they use to grow market share. This series is powered by Spatial.ai, the retail insight platform that helps you target your top customer segments and track brand momentum through millions of credit card transactions. Learn more at Spatial.ai. And today, I am joined by Julian Gottlieb. He's a senior analytics lead of the market intelligence practice in Patagonia. Welcome to the podcast, Julian.
Thanks for having me, Leiden. Happy to be here.
So, Julian, for folks that don't know, what exactly does it mean, market intelligence practice at Patagonia? What is that?
Yeah, thanks. So it's early innings in building market intelligence at Patagonia, but it's deeply intertwined with understanding our customer and building best product and doing business unusual, which are our core Patagonia values. We are trying to infuse market intelligence across the organization, from product ideation to storytelling, channel strategy, and long-term innovation. Surf metaphors play well with Patagonia. So I'd say that instead of, spending the entire time paddling, we want to be where the wave is going to be. And we think of the guiding practice as thinking about where our customer, where the sport, where our environment are going to be 5-10 years into the future, so that we can meet them in that moment with the right product and customer experience. We make market investments across a lot of different type of data sources. Some of that is transactional, it's competitive, consumer trend, looking at what's going on in the macro economy, survey and behavioral data. And I think the core theme across those is that people tell you and show you what they want with their wallets, how they want to shop, participate in sports, interact with brands. And I draw the most confidence out of signals that are true and line up across these different sources that you and I have talked a lot about, triangulation. So it's really about trying to separate the signal from the noise and find a pattern that we feel like is strong and resonant with our customers.
You have such an interesting situation because you're very sport focused. And so you'll actually do deep analytics on a particular sport in an industry. And I think that feels very Patagonia unique. You mentioned business unusual, which I haven't heard that before, but I think it makes total sense. Let's talk about the customer insights that you've had and how you took it into action. So what's one customer insight that you've had that you feel like has shifted your growth strategy?
I'll speak to one that I think is a real embodiment of our values, and I think represents just one of the most exciting opportunities in the way economy is changing and the way that brands can really lead with circularity practice. ThreadUp suggests global secondhand apparel and equipment market is forecasted to reach $350 billion by 2028, $73 billion in the US. We find that our customers express an openness to circularity. They shop used clothing, they donate or trade in. And our customers are aware of our circularity leadership. That could be repairs, could be trade-in, resale, guarantee. But I think one area that our strategic focus has shifted is really just trying to build awareness about what circularity is in the broader outdoor sport community. And we want to help customers understand circularity more of an ecosystem than a series of unconnected one-off actions. It is part of relationship with brand. And that could be a long-term relationship between customers and their products, and thinking of product as something that you make an investment in. Patagonia wants to lead with our vision of circularity, and we're thinking about it in this very holistic, relationship-based way that goes to eliminating waste and pollution in production, manufacture, how we circulate products and materials, and also thinking even one step beyond that, which is just our values around like regenerative agriculture and materials that we use in our products. So that is, I think, a key focus at our company, one way that customers often experience that is through wornware on the website, where you can trade in previously owned product and receive store credit or to buy new products.
What exactly triggered that? Was it very much like mission oriented? This is what we want to do. Is there some awareness? You mentioned ThreadUp, so you're aware of the size of the industry. Like, how did that come to be? Because as soon as I knew Patagonia, that was already there. I never knew a world where I forget what's called wornwear. I've never known a Patagonia didn't have that. So was there a moment where it didn't have it, and then now it does?
Yeah, I mean, it is everything with Patagonia. When you think about big strategic moves that we make, it is a heart led company. So I think it is mission aligned. It's in our mission why we believe in circularity. Um, in terms of like the market signal or consumer signal, we're drawing on, it could be industry reports, as in this case I mentioned ThreadUp,
Hmm.
but it's also survey, understanding our customers, understanding how customers perceive the brand, where we're building awareness on key initiatives that the company has, and where we see opportunity to go deeper or expand awareness, I think is the big thing. So a lot of that is survey, but it comes through. And yes, Warnware is established. Now I'd say it's reached a point of maturity where it's a little bit more integrated into our D2C experience now. So it opens up this door to really understanding behavioral, transactional customer attributes. Like, is it our existing customers? Are we bringing new people into the brand
Mm,
through Warnware? So I think we're getting a little bit richer signal around who the customer is for this and where we can grow there.
yeah. I'm interested to see how Warnware plays out because one of the things that I have seen with Gen Z, this is somewhat anecdotal, but it's also I've seen some of the math behind it. So Gen Z is a lot more their savings are compressed because of just all the ridiculous stuff that we've had since COVID, and it's expensive to go to college, and it's expensive to afford housing, and so there is a need for it. I've seen them come out in surveys like we're eco conscious, we want things that are conscious of the environment, but it's hard to act on that when you don't have the dollar. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I think what's interesting about Patagonia is you guys aren't in it because it's trendy. You would be in it if it wasn't trendy. And so it's more of like a mission thing. And so I mean that's also kind of what people resonate with the brand.
It-
Um,
it's an interesting aspect of who we are, that market intelligence sometimes takes this flavor of like, what are competitors doing and do we copy that or try something different. I think something that has been true as I've been a part of this practice and on this customer team is that I mentioned it's a very heart-led organization. So I think oftentimes we think of ourselves as running our own race. Um, and yes, I think we would be pursuing this even if it wasn't in vogue. But just to speak to that younger customer, I think this meets them with the right offer at the right stage of the life cycle, and it gives customers to test products, I think, and learn new products and really invest in that product over time and say like, hey, I'm going to take good care of this. We want our customers to take care of their products, repair, upgrades, those kind of things, and it gives them an opportunity to say like, hey, I'm invested in keeping this apparel in play for longer, and that resale is part of that, and also gives people an opportunity to try a technical product that might not otherwise be
mm,
able to afford it or have access to it. And you get some really like interesting bespoke and one-off pieces that you'll see in Warnware. So it kind of fits that theme that like Gen Z, you kind of
yeah,
read this consumer insight that they're really into thrifting, and that there's been this thrifting boom in the last, decade or so. And I think,
sure.
it's all part of that zeitgeist of like keeping play in gear longer, longevity, durability, just promoting quality as like a reason to buy, and that circularity kind of draws on that theme.
It's also a good way to keep the integrity of the brand and at the same time be able to open the door to a point of market entry consumer. So just one that wouldn't typically be able to afford it yet. But you're not just discounting to nothing, which is it's kind of a cool way of straddling both in a mission centered way. What is a move that your team has made to activate an insight?
Yeah, so one of the great things about being on a customer team is that we get to facilitate and collaborate with a lot of different parts of the company. So I can't take credit for this, but in terms of our digital experience on the site, circularity is much more blended into just the regular consumer site, Patagonia.com. And so resale and circularity is really at the center of what you see in the digital experience. So recently, we integrated worn wear and trade-ins directly at Patagonia.com. They used to be hosted at a separate subdomain. And then there are I should say that there are short-term and long-term bets on this, but I'd say that is like in the short term, you're starting to see its presence more on our touch points. But I'd say in the long term, it scales up into pretty ambitious goals around decarbonizing supply chain and seeing circularity as this movement that goes much deeper than how customer interacts and shops for products. But just early results on like integrating it into our site, very positive. And I think they're showing like we are increasing our new wornwear customer acquisition. Um, and almost a quarter of those customers are kind of coming through this new trade-in integration.
Hmm.
We see that when we prioritize investments in technology that promote resale and circularity, it draws new customers into the brand. And we also see like in survey results, like rising awareness of trade-ins and repairs among our purchasers and sport community members. So early signals positive that it's resonant and creating the kind of growth that we want to see.
I mean, it makes sense that the consumers like it, but how do you deal with, is there any internal conversation around, well, this is going to cannibalize our sales? Like, have you guys like thought about that? Have you done math behind it? And is that a topic?
I'm not directly involved in the management of the wornwear practice, but I do think that there is discussion on how additive or incremental it is to the business. Um, I think ultimately we're driven by it being the right thing to do and something that we want to lead in. And I think the fears of like cannibalization decrease when you think of it as part of an integrative customer experience, as part of omnichannel, as part
Sure.
of everything that you experience whether that means you go into a retail store or whether you're shopping on the site. So I think it's part of the holistic experience, and I think there's a lot of excitement about what it means to extend the life of products, keep them in play longer, and really see that value as a long-term thing.
Yeah.
And I think Patagonia tends to not like we're not myopic thinkers when it comes to value and quality. So I think this is just a bet on that kind of long-term view on how customers value product.
Yeah. I'm becoming increasingly convicted that one of the most major metrics that a brand can track is their consecutive repeat rate. Maybe we've talked about this a little bit, but it's essentially like when a consumer has a next opportunity to buy within the category, in this case it's outdoors, if we can keep them within our brand, to the extent that we can keep them within our brand and not going to other brands, this is going to be huge because it's both it's almost like a customer loyalty metric, but it also just indicates product is better. It's like when they have a choice, they're going to pick us, if that makes sense. And so I have a growing sense that that is a good indicator of market share. It feels like the wornwear would do that. It just keeps them in your ecosystem, keeps them cycling through.
Trust, quality, long-term value, they're all different sides of the same coin. And I think that resonates, I think, with our OneWare program.
Nice. That's awesome, man. What's one person in your orbit that's doing cool things in retail right now?
So not a person and not a Patagonia sport, but I'm still basking in the afterglow of attending my first US Open in New York.
Okay.
And to me, what stands out about it and the lessons that I draw for Patagonia is just that it's an incredible experiential moment that celebrates sport. So I watched Carlos Alcaraz play in a match, and then right outside Arthur Ashe Stadium, there is tennis sport focused Nike stores where you can buy the Alcaraz collection or a Ralph Lauren polo tennis collection. And I just think this approach to having this really intuitive, like combination of love of sport, experience, the tennis community and brand interplay is just like a top-notch thing. It was just so seamless, and to me that like really represents just like pinnacle of celebrating sport and creating the right experience to match that. I think that's what we strive for at Patagonia as
Mm.
well. We're not, our sports are not really stadium sports like that, but we think a lot about how we bring sport to life through product and our storytelling and this immersive experience where our customer really feels connected to that love of sport that is celebrating the athlete.
Yeah. Dude, I cannot get it out of my head. There was a Patagonia special at some point. It's like a mini documentary about this guy that I forget falconry. I
Mm,
don't know if that there's a guy with like a falcon, and for whatever reason that image of this guy with a falcon in Patagonia like sticks in my mind. And it's not like it's not your pinnacle moment with tennis, but it is something that for whatever reason I love hawks. I love hawks, and whenever I think about hawks now, it's like Patagonia is immediately attached to it.
sure. Yeah. Yvon Chouinard, the founder, was involved with like a local falconry club
Okay.
in his early days. And we, through our grassroots support for grassroots organizations, we do a lot of work with local groups that help conserve native bird populations, raptors, in the area where HQ is. So it's kind of in our DNA, that falconry club, and
Yeah.
so that.
Yeah, the other thing you're triggering for me here is the mission focus of Patagonia. I've been seeing other brands, so like Dutch Brothers is top of mind for me right now. They're exploding in coffee, and one of their biggest plays in sales is always related to philanthropic things. So there's one called Drink One for Dane. It's about the founder and he had like ALS or something. And anyways, it's like their top selling day, and it always gets them earned media. It always gets them earned media and then cars in the parking lot. And that's the other thing with a philanthropic thing is you get you a bunch of earned media too. So that's earned media in my head with the falconry thing. So that's really interesting. Okay.
Mission, authenticity. I mean, those are the things consumers are looking for in brands. That is differentiation. I think being mission driven is our strength. It's why people are proud to work here. It's why our customers are proud to shop at our stores. I think that's like a critical thing in this moment that demands that kind of leadership and brand integrity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's almost like a new marketing tactic, whether it's intended that way or not. Okay, so where can we find out more about you or your company, Julian?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not very active, but you can find me there. Patagonia, at Patagonia on all the socials. And then I would also point your audience towards, we're releasing our first ever impact report called the Work in Progress Report. It'll be available on November 12th. The report will be free and downloadable on Patagonia.com, and it provides probably the most comprehensive view of our business impact, ownership structure, environmental giving that we've ever released. We are not a perfect company, as the report will show, but we are committed to using business to find solutions to climate and nature crisis. And I think it will be an interesting read for your audience.
Rock and roll, man. Well, Julian, thank you for coming on. And one thing I've just appreciated about you so much is you're very thoughtful in your the analytics that you do, and it's not just the math. Like you're actually thinking strategy around it, and I really appreciate that. And man, cheers to using mission as a actual marketing tactic. So awesome, man. We'll see you, Julian.
Thanks, Leiden. Take care.